In the headlines, medical insurance to top the agenda when the Police Welfare Association holds its general meeting on Friday. Manufacturers say the delayed opening of the Buy Dominica Supercenter bad for business. And the trade union leader points to indifference on the tardy tribunal matters as among the biggest threats to effective trade unions in the country. I am Andrea Lee with the Channel 5 News. Back with the details after this.
M&J Covering is the producer of designed galvanized and galvalume in Dominica. They design to your specifications, color and length, 4 styles of galvanized and galvalume pre-painted roofing sheets as requested, and supply all your galvalume accessories. M&J Covering helps you control spending and reduce waste. At M&J Covering, they are also equipped to build your roof to precise standards anywhere on island. So come to M&J Covering at 1 Mile in Portsmouth or call 445-5001-275-5003 today.
Thank you for staying with us. First up, amendments to the Police Medical Insurance Act will take prominence when the Police Welfare Association holds a special general meeting on Friday. The meeting is to discuss the way forward for members of the police force, as the PWA executive says it is frustrated over the slow pace of tackling issues affecting the force. Chairman of the PWA, Jefferson Drago, says Friday's meeting will determine the association's next steps.
It is frustrating police officers that a claim for their insurance is taken in excess of 9 months. And it is getting to them, and the police officers can no longer take it. So as such, we have that meeting on a Friday to discuss and chat the way forward. And in the interim, we are hoping that the government will come to their senses and go to Parliament and amend the law governing the police medical insurance, because it is frustrating.
Drago says the PWA has been proactive in trying to get the Police Medical Insurance Act amended.
We have gotten our lawyer, who is a draftsman, John Elliott Charles, to do the drafting for us. We have asked for a meeting with the Chief of Police to discuss it. He gave us a date, and he had to cancel the date. And we are waiting on him to give us another date, and up till today we have not gotten the date. So we are trying our best to work with the administration and the government to get Section 10 of the Police Act amended so that we can have a new insurance policy governing the police medical insurance.
Other issues up for discussion at Friday's meeting include better salary and improved accommodation. In other police news, over $80,000. That's the amount of money police say was in a vault they recovered a week ago after it was stolen from Best Price Hardware and Supermarket on Riverbank. The police say in total the men involved stole $80,791.45 in cash. Marvin Boyd and Alvin Esprit of Tarishpit, as well as Winston Barber of Maho residing in Tarishpit, have been charged with burglary. Meantime, investigations are ongoing into last week's homicide in Salisbury. That incident involved the 21-year-old Tyrone Jolly, who was shot and killed. Tyrone's body was found lying in a pool of blood at his home. In other top stories, President of the Dominica Manufacturers Association is lamenting that almost 70 manufacturers no longer have a permanent place to showcase and sell their products.
The Buy Dominica Supercenter was opened on King George V Street in Roseau in December 2015 and subsequently moved to the Roseau Market in September 2016. The Supercenter catered specifically to locally manufactured products, and the numbers of suppliers and products grew during the store's existence. President of the Dominica Manufacturers Association, Severin McKenzie, says sadly the supercenter has not been able to resume operations.
We started with just about 25 products on the market when we started. And within the 2 years of existence, we were up to over 200 local products from about 70 suppliers. And the the Buy Dominica facility was flooded and subsequently looted. So all the small businesses who had products at the Buy Dominica Supercenter, in fact, lost their products.
McKenzie acknowledged that a lot of the manufacturers have not been producing material since the storm due to financial and other reasons, but he would like to see more consideration for local products on supermarket shelves.
Yeah, we go to the supermarkets and we go to all over the place, and everything that we use in this country, apart from the agricultural products, are imported. So the few things that we were making on the island, we should have been able to see how we resume production of these few items. Already before the hurricane, before the thing, we were talking about over 90% imports. So the little 10% that we had before the hurricane have right now been diminished to almost zero.
The virgin coconut oil industry was also very productive in Dominica, and the DMA president is saddened to see this industry has not yet revived.
The coconut industry, as you know, was decimated again by this storm, by the hurricane. And many of our virgin coconut oil producers went out of business. And all attempts that are being made to bring in coconuts, dry coconuts into the country, has met with a certain level of resistance and prohibition. So our virgin coconut oil and the coconut cheese and all the products that we were making out of the coconuts have been discontinued, so we have no production of coconuts, of the byproducts of coconut.
On to other matters, a recommendation by the Dominica Nurses Association that government facilitate nurses in handling the transportation issues. A recommendation by the Pan American Health Organization for transportation assistance for nurses post-Hurricane Maria was taken, but that assistance was discontinued this week. The Public Service Union met with the leadership of the Nurses Association on Tuesday to prepare a draft proposal to be presented to government.
I do not know whether you read the draft proposal that I have prepared, but that is one thing which is included in the draft proposal, is that, while I will not discuss other details, but I can tell you that one of the things that we are proposing is that government established a special fund where it can provide nurses with low interest loans to purchase their vehicles and also to provide duty-free to them.
Thomas later says the union is also looking into other concerns raised by nurses about their work environment.
The nurses has also brought to our attention the fact that there are some Cuban nurses who do not understand one word of the English language, and that this is posing a threat. So that is a matter that we have to sit and look at and decide what we say to the administration about it. That a number of health centers have still not been repaired, that you are having clinics or services being provided in other buildings, and it is just a stress for the nurses, and they are saying that they cannot function as they should because enough has not been done since Hurricane Maria.
You are watching the Channel 5 News. Stay tuned for more after the break.
Rudolph Thomas Enterprise in Portsmouth, your suppliers of building materials and hardware products. Over 20 years experience in the business. Rudolph Thomas has lumber and plywood, galvanized and fence pipe. Check out Rudolph Thomas for ceramic and vinyl floor and wall tiles, nails, nuts and bolts, paint and painting supplies. And check out their line of electrical and hand tools. Go now to Rudolph Thomas on 1240 Bay Street in Portsmouth.
Welcome back. A 54-year-old trade union has highlighted two main threats to the effectiveness of trade unions here. Curtis Augustus, who is the Secretary-Treasurer of the Waterfront and Allied Workers Union, WAWU, says the limited interest by young employees in industrial relations is one of the factors hindering a more robust trade union movement in Dominica.
Would probably have to classify it as the young Turks, the new and younger employers that sometimes display a sort of posture of not wanting to deal and treat with the trade unions, and that is a concern. And we also have the situation where at the level of the tribunals, they were set up to deliver speedy resolutions to matters where the employers and the trade unions could not agree among themselves, and that it should be a process which would hand out decisions for the parties involved.
On the matter of the slow movement of tribunal-level matters, Augustus says something must be done to speed up this process so that those aggrieved can get justice.
Now, you have matters at the level of the tribunal that have not been resolved. Some of them are going on 3 and 4 years, and that cannot be good for industrial relations. We also have the intervention of the legal fraternity in that process that is, to my mind, holding back, preventing that speedy resolution, because their responsibility is more towards the courts as to the tribunals. And therefore, when tribunals are set, you get instances where they indicate that they are not available because they are probably down in Portsmouth and or in Marigot dealing with a particular matter. Now, from our standpoint, justice delayed is justice denied, and we are concerned about that.
Augustus sounded a call on all parties involved to put aside their differences and play their part to move the trade union movement forward in Dominica.
The way forward for industrial relations in Dominica, as I said, there must be a willingness on the part of the parties. We, the trade unions and the employers' organization, with the assistance of the labor ministry, okay? And once we are talking, I always indicate, once we are talking, we could find resolutions to differences that we have, even if we have to make certain amendments, or for that matter, withdrawals of certain positions, so that we could, in the end, find resolution.
The Dominica Association of Evangelical Churches is calling for widespread sensitization on the decriminalization of cannabis. The DAEC believes last Friday's national consultation on the decriminalization of cannabis has highlighted a need for a lot more education on the topic. The organization does, however, have concerns with the effect of cannabis use on one's health.
From our perspective as counselors and pastors in our varied offices, one of the things that we have noticed is that we have dealt with a number of people who have come to us with certain drug-induced psychosis. And when these people come and marijuana is mentioned, if we ask that they stop smoking marijuana, it appears to us that, and to these people as well, that they do better during the time that they would have stopped smoking marijuana. And if these people get back on it, then they would return back to the dispositions or expressions, if you like, of psychosis. That is in no way scientific. That is by pure observation. I have heard that there is no scientific fact to prove that cannabis is causative in terms of mental illness. However, it is something that must be researched, since the same scientific research does say to us that it is not advisable for young people to utilize marijuana for the same reason, that it slows them down, it impedes their academic retention, and so on. And so that, I believe, needs to be researched. It needs to be investigated more, and we need some more information on it. So health considerations for us is very, very important.
The DAEC believes it is wrong to criminalize part of God's creation in the way that cannabis has been prohibited. The DAEC president says Dominicans need to hear the perspective of another expert other than Professor Rose Maria Antoine, chairperson of CARICOM's Regional Commission on Marijuana.
We believe that Professor Antoine presented a very passionate position of CARICOM on the whole question of the legalization of cannabis. And the position certainly is to legalize the plant. What we are asking for is that in the whole consultative process, that we also find somebody who is as knowledgeable and probably as passionate, with as much statistics and evidence-based arguments to give us some position on the other side, so we can sit and reasonably look at both arguments, and then as a nation, in my view, we can now make some constructive decisions as to where we're going to go. Of course, in our mind, even if there is legalization, the whole question of regulation is going to be important. However, we are also aware that there is regulation on alcohol, for example, but it has not been enforceable. Or it's not enforced. Whether it's enforceable or not, it's not enforced. There is regulation on some stuff in our society that we don't see any movement on. So we have the view that even if you take the route of regulation, there are still going to be loopholes in terms of ensuring that the society is wholesome. At the end of the day, our perspective or position is that we have to grow a holistic society. And whatever we have around us that is good for us, we should use. However, we must do our best not to defy God's law. And in that reference, we speak deliberately and specifically about the fact that we have made a plant illegal.
And Father Clement Jolly's latest book, To Be a Christian, Self-Understanding in the Post-Modern World, heading to the bookstores now.
At the time of his death last December, this book was only in manuscript form. Suffering from cancer, Father Jolly knew his time was short, so Father Coffey promised to ensure that this literary work was published.
In the last conversation I had with him before he left our community in Belfast to be sent to the home in Mount Daniel, he told me that the person who was doing the typing for him also was being hospitalized because she had a stroke, and he was advised that, he is not doing well, he's on his way out. So forget about the book. And I could feel the pain, as he spoke to me. And I told him, come what may, the book will be published. I'll make every effort to publish the book. And of course, he seek permission and authority to give me the book. We agreed that, yes, he was very happy that I to make that decision. So, of course, we live as community, and so we had to get the okay from our superiors. So immediately I contacted our superiors in the States, and they gave me the okay.
Through the assistance of a few donors, Father Coffey was able to pay for typing and editing. He says prior to the completion of the book's last 3 chapters, Hurricane Maria struck and the manuscript was lost. Fortunately, the original typist had saved all her work, putting the project back on track.
Lavinia Benjamin, who is the magistrate in Totola, she told me that she has a publishing company, Emmanuel Publishing House, and she took on the responsibility for
publishing, and things just kept falling in place. You know, it kept falling in place, and so there we are. You know, almost a year later, to this depth that well, our aim was to have it going out for the Feast of Christ the King, because you know, Father Jolly really was, I mean, it's a prophetic voice. I think we lost, a voice that was silenced, and I'm happy that I am able, again, to keep his voice alive, especially at this time, you know, for us here in Dominica. It has a title, say, To Be a Christian, Self-Understanding in the Post-Modern World. It's really, it's a book where I think it's as Christians, in spite of the chaos that's around us, we have to be a voice of hope. As Christians, we have to be a vision for the world. You know, we encounter with challenges, and we should see every challenge as an opportunity. And for me, that is the gist of the message. And he's asking us to look at ourselves. You know, if we call ourselves Christians, are we really living up to what a Christian ought to be, a true disciple of Christ?
To end the news, the headlines again. Medical insurance to top the agenda when the Police Welfare Association holds its general meeting on Friday. Manufacturers say the delayed opening of the Buy Dominica Super Center bad for business, and the trade union leader points to indifference and the tardy tribunal matters as among major threats to the effectiveness of trade unions in the country. Feel free to contact us at news@marpin2k4.com. You can also access our past newscasts on our YouTube channel. On behalf of the entire production team, I am Andrea Lee, and to all of our viewers around the world, thank you so much for watching. Join us tomorrow.